Okay.
Hello once again. Uh, it is just me and Skull here for episode 8. I'm pretty sure.
I
Yeah,
think
8.
so.
I think so. 8 sounds good. I think we're both tired at this point.
Yeah.
It's the perfect time to talk about this, right? But we are
hmm
short a Ruthless and a Raptor. Life reasons, I guess is the best way to say. Uh,
Yeah, I wouldn't say that for Raptor. Raptor just didn't want to be here.
okay, well, Raptor's a bitch boy, alright? We'll just say that. um, but no, you got me and Skull here, and we're going to be talking about our kind of like our journeys in drawing, but then also like I guess tips we can offer and advice. It's almost gonna be like the writing one, but writing was a little more about like the worlds we've developed. Son of
Yeah.
a bitch. And I also do apologize if you hear noise in the background. I'm gonna try and mute it as much as possible, but people shouldn't be drumming at this hour. Alright,
Is someone
anyway.
playing drums?
Yes, my father likes to drum, and it's almost 9 o'clock at night, and he shouldn't be doing this. Anyway,
Yikes.
moving on. So, Skull, I know you've shared this story with us a few times, but what got you into drawing?
Um, when I was little, the first memory I have of sitting down and drawing, I was sitting at the kitchen table with my dad and I was watching him draw something. Can't remember what it was, but I remember being just so blown away by how cool his drawings were that I really wanted to start. It was that plus my enjoyment of cartoons and stuff, and just wanting to do art. Granted, I was never really allowed to like watch cartoons and stuff all that often, so that inspiration didn't start to become a bigger thing until later on.
Okay.
I don't know. I just after I made up my mind, it's just kind of something that I kept doing. Except for I think I was in like fifth or sixth grade, and I quit drawing for a period between like 6 months and a year. It was just like lack of motivation and also something that someone had said to me.
That's understandable.
hmm
I'm not gonna pry into what that was unless you want to share it of your own free will, so.
Oh, I've told the story before. It's just
Well,
like
yeah, it's more like sharing it with an audience.
no. Like I shared the story in the last episode we did like this as well, the writing one.
Shows you how well
I'm
I
just sure
remember
they
stuff.
I'm just sure they don't want to hear it again. I mean,
Uh,
blah blah blah. Parents saying something negative about child's art, them wanting to give up, blah blah blah. Moving on.
I mean, I
I,
feel I feel like everyone hears that at some point too.
I think I still have my like very first sketchbook I filled though,
Fucking.
somewhere put away. My elementary school sketchbook. I'll have to send you. I'll have to send you some of the pictures sometime, Lotus.
Okay, sounds good. But then what is it something that you do like to draw, I should say?
Um,
Where have you come with your style?
um, given my like little doodle I did earlier, I'm kind of like in between like a cartoon and anime style right now.
While also
Um,
saying that your art is trash, even though it's not.
I started watching Ninjago again, so some of that's bleeding into my art style a little bit too right now. Right, I don't mean like I started back from season one. I mean like I continued watching.
Of course you did. Why wouldn't you, right?
Yeah, I haven't finished catching up. It's like 16 seasons of the show now.
I believe it. Oh boy. I am getting a little tired. Don't mind me. It's been a long day.
You're good. Um, when I was little, I drew a lot of animals and stuff, mostly cats. Um, yeah, I'm not quite sure when I actually like really started drawing people, like dedicatedly drawing people and humanoid type characters. Like I definitely drew people when I was little, but it was like the potato looking people that most children draw. And I started
That
drawing
or the stick
cats.
figures, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can say for me, I always had like a mild interest in art when I was in elementary school. Uh, so some of the things I learned in elementary school have kind of stuck with me, and I tend to stick with. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I think it was like fifth grade for art class, because like that was just part of the curriculum when we were in grade school was you had to take art. Anyway. And the big thing that she drilled in our heads is never ever trace. Which I find kind of funny because, like, for some, like, divisions of art, that's kind of important for you to, like, trace over certain things.
Oh yeah.
But no,
Um,
yeah, she's like, never ever trace. And we're like, okay. So, like,
you know, I've actually heard a lot of artists argue about this. Like, there's a lot of really big
really?
artists. Yeah, like there's a lot of artists, myself included, who do genuinely believe that like maybe not like for all of your artworks because there is a point where it becomes art theft, but like tracing over like basic anatomy and stuff can help you start to understand and learn a little bit better the anatomy.
Well, see, okay, for that, I got different like recommendations for how to improve my anatomy because when I want to say it was like 2018, 2019, something like that. I want to say more 2018 because it was like still a little bit before COVID would hit. I had went to a Comic Con. I don't know if anyone's in like the Chicago area, but it's the C2E2 Comic Con. And at that time when I went, I happened to go the day that there was like people in the industry, like comic artists, that were actually doing like a panel, and you could go up and have them look at your portfolio,
Hmm.
which I thought was fucking amazing. So I was actually able to do that where I got to go see them and had one of them look at my drawings at the time. And I think at that time it was a lot of Steven Universe fan art. So it's still that kind of like cartoony anatomy, but also still being like realistic anatomy to a point.
Hmm.
But I was complimented on my use of colors, which I'm very happy about because colors. Being an artist, my biggest thing is color theory. Like as much as I love to draw, I love color theory a lot more.
I struggle with colors for characters.
Really, I oh my gosh, colors are like the easiest thing for me. Like oof. If you
I
ever
have a
need
hard.
help, let me know because I will help you in a heartbeat.
It's funny, as a person who makes a lot of OCs, I can say with confidence I have an easier time making names for characters than I do with color.
Really? Yeah, just like
Yeah.
give a holler cuz like holy shit, I could give you a full-on rundown on what colors mean and everything and like what you should probably use if you want to like portray this and that and so much. I mean, I kind of went into it a little bit with Sparrow and Arthur's designs too, how color went into their designs. That's so
Mhm.
much with the others, but they got a little bit more of it because, like, how Arthur has more neutral colors to blend in a little bit more and not stand out, whereas Sparrow has a lot more brighter and variety of color to her to make her more appealing and stand out. And how the only thing really
Makes sense.
stand out about Arthur's is blonde hair, but we don't talk about that. But
There's a
yeah,
lot of things we don't talk about as artists.
there's a lot of things we don't talk about. But the only thing that they had mentioned that I needed to work on was obviously anatomy and drawing proportions correctly cuz well, let's be fair, I think every artist struggles with that and it doesn't really get any better till you develop your own style essentially.
Yeah.
And even then, keep in mind your style is gonna change as you draw. I mean, I certainly don't draw the way I did when I was in high school. I'm gonna be quite honest.
Definitely.
I fall into those brand of artists that was so ambitious in high school, and now I'm just like, I just want to draw this, and that's it.
I mean,
Like, I don't care about all the fancy backgrounds and this and that. I just want to draw two characters or one character, and that's it.
oh yeah. I
But
mean, like, yeah, I'm at the point now where like I'm not really trying to do a lot of like two characters interacting, and so I've been struggling with that, but I've been working on it as of late. I recently took the time to digitize a sketch redraw, or start the process, I should say, of digitizing a redraw sketch I did of something from like 2018.
okay. But back to the anatomy thing. They told me that to improve upon it, to kind of watch people. I know it sounds weird, but they said watch how they move and how they position themselves and things like that. And the more that I got an eye for how the human body moves and interacts with things, the better my art would become. And I know it sounds really weird to just say watch people when you could be seen as like kind of creepy at times, but it's like most of the time people don't even notice that you're watching. I'm gonna be honest
Yeah,
there. Like you could
yeah.
be sitting there in a park, like let's say like just on a bench and just watching people, they won't even give you any fucking like attention for the
Oh
most
yeah.
part. Especially if it's like a
Um,
big city. People are just gonna be like moving on by. I mean, if it's a small town,
hmm.
maybe they might glance over like, "What you looking at there, bud?"
Oh, it's funny. Just like I when I'm drawing, sometimes I'll like if I'm thinking about how I want to do something, I'll get what I call the 1,000 mile artist stare, where I'll just like stare really intensely at a wall across the room or
Oh my
something.
gosh, that's me with writing.
If someone's sitting nearby, like when I was in high school, I got a lot of like, why are you like I get people who come up to me from across the cafeteria or whatever, me like, why are you staring at me? It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was just looking at the trophy case over there.
It's like I know it looks like I was staring at you, but I really wasn't. I was kind of looking at the thing behind you.
Yeah. Or even better is when I catch someone else looking at me. Like I know they're looking at me. I take that 1,000 mile stare and I just kind of like stare directly through them. And a lot of the time, people will like kind of leave you alone. I don't
uh,
know. Apparently, artists are like some of the scariest people ever.
well, of course they are. I know that for a fact. I had a lot of artist friends in high school. They were fucking terrifying. And for the most part, you had like those occasional preppy ones that didn't really give two shits about everyone else except for like the little friend group, so like they didn't really fit in, and you kind of just ignored them because they were those girls. A lot of the kids in my art classes were girls, not guys, and uh, the guys that we did have in our art classes didn't give two shits about art. They were there for the free ride. I kid you not. In high
Yeah, it's
school, art was the class you went to when you wanted an easy A.
wow.
Yes, I kid you not. Or like for some of us who had nothing else better they wanted to do other than draw or make ceramics or paint and things like that. I
Hmm.
mean, hell, for me, when I was in high school, I took art intro, drawing 1 and 2, painting 1 and 2, and advanced art. And then
That's
like senior
funny.
year, I was the student aide to my art teacher. So yeah,
That's
I
really funny. We had nothing like that for our
really.
school. Yeah, we were set under like a very strict, okay, this is what we are doing, this is all we are doing. You do not get to do anything different unless you finish all of your projects.
No, yeah, ours was
And
actually
like,
very lax. Well, at least Miss Cleveland was. I know Miss Keto was a little more strict, but Miss Cleveland was pretty much our art teacher for basically almost everything. Obviously some exceptions here and there, but no, she was very lax, and so long as you did like art, that's all that mattered.
I took almost all of my art in French though, and like, all of the French teachers
Oh,
I've had have sucked.
well, yeah, I mean, different up there in for you, because Canada and French and all that.
I think I might have shocked myself while I was plugging in my laptop charger.
Ew, fun.
My arm is tingling.
Oh gosh, but I will have to say when you said like how you started kind of drawing a little more cartoons and obviously like how Lego Ninjagos are starting to influence you now. Back when I was in middle school, that's probably when I started getting more into drawing. Was when I was started reading the Sonic the Hedgehog comic books that were published by Archie Publications. Um, I can't. I think it was like issue 151 I came in on. I kind of like read and collected them at that point. But at that point, I started falling into the fan creations, like writing fan fiction essentially. Like I say fan fiction, but it's like fan comics, which is like obviously the mixture of both, where you're still like writing stories, but you're drawing it all out and things like that.
Hmm.
But I did that probably up to uh was it sophomore year or was it the beginning of junior year? I don't remember. All I remember, no, it was junior year. I definitely remember now. I probably mentioned this in the writing one, but I'm just gonna say it again. But when my ex boyfriend told me that my drawings were no good, that kind of cut me deep. And it still cuts me deep because I can tell you I was a lot more ambitious back in high school when it came to drawing and all that fun stuff. Uh, but after that whole conversation, that completely killed my drive and motivation to make comics. I swear, to this day, I cannot bring myself to draw any form of comics. It could be like a small, like two, three, four panel comic, but I couldn't. I couldn't bring myself to draw it. So, be careful with what you say to people, especially like the creative types, because we're very sensitive. we
Yeah,
we
yeah,
may not we may be able to hide it better as we obviously get older. Not always true, mind you, but
yeah,
just be careful what you say because it could really hurt people and it could really
yeah.
destroy them because like Skull almost never drew because of people, and I can't draw comics anymore because of a rotten ass nice guy ex-boyfriend, but you know we don't talk about that kind of stuff.
Hmm. I mean,
Like,
with me specifically, my lack of motivation to draw, it's a lot of like, I can't do mechs, I can't do cars, I can't do animals with detail. I really struggle with animals, and it usually, like, it's really hard for me to draw them now.
it's also just like a matter of like, you know, get like I practice and all that fun stuff.
That's
Again,
kind
like,
of what I was, like, starting to draw, though, around the time that I had my incident.
okay. So it's almost kind of like a I could almost say it's a similar thing like what happened with me in comics. Like it's a mental block there at that point where
Yeah,
you can't really do it anymore. Which I
yeah.
definitely feel that because I mean I wish I could draw comics again. I had fun. It was fun making all like the Sonic the Hedgehog fan comics with all my own little fan characters and things like that. But no, yeah, that was killed dead in the water for me in junior high. I still loved Sonic, like that didn't change. I still loved the comics, but I couldn't draw comics myself, which
Hmm.
really was upsetting. But I probably also wouldn't get back into fandoms until Steven Universe when I actually made Gemsonas,
Hmm.
which that was fun. Okay, I'll be honest, like it is fun creating original fan characters. Uh, so long as like you're very passionate about the fandom, because I'm not gonna lie, it's been a while since I've been so passionate about a fandom like I was with Steven Universe. Now I just draw my own characters when I want to, but even then that's not that often.
Yeah,
Also, it's a little bit just easier making my own stuff than having to pay like a lot of money for someone to like do it for me.
yeah,
Because I'm not gonna lie, like I am grateful that you are starting your commissions because obviously you're gonna be a little bit cheaper too. Not to be
yeah,
mean, but like you get these other ones who are just like, yeah, I'll do it for $300. I'm like, oh boy, pass.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm just starting out. I'm not getting a lot of commissions, and you're a friend, so I'm not gonna be like, give me $80.
well, here's the thing. I had a friend. I guess I considered her a friend, but I wouldn't do that anymore because she was a very toxic individual. I realize that now. But I was kind of hoping, admittedly, for like what you gave me was like a bit of a friends discount because I'm like, hey, we're friends. Do you think maybe you could do this for like maybe $10 off? Nah, she charged me full price. I'm like, okay, that's a little disappointing. And I mean, to be fair, like looking back at it, I don't think it was worth the money I spent. Because I've spent like $100 on a lot better things from other artists, and I'm like, I'm disappointed now.
Yeah,
That that's
I feel
that's
that.
I'm not gonna say who the artist is or anything, but like Just
No, we don't
yeah.
attack
Yeah,
artists
we
here.
don't attack. We don't attack other people. That's wrong. I mean, I wish I was a bit better at digital art. I mean, I was doing traditional art for the longest time, mostly because I couldn't really get a hold of the materials I would need to actually practice digital art. I did have I think when I was going into my bachelor's degree, I did invest in like a cheap kind of drawing tablet where it didn't have the display screen and it was just one where you'd have to draw on it, but you'd have to look at your screen to see what
Oh yeah,
exactly it was you're doing. It was
also known as nightmare.
yeah, it absolutely is. Like I found out really quickly I could not really draw digitally that way. And
Hmm.
I know it's a good stepping stone for when it comes to drawing tablets and things like that, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I really couldn't. Um,
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what I work with right now, and it's like a genuine
a genuine
struggle.
nightmare. Well,
Like
I find that
especially
also
since I got like
weird.
one of the small drawing tablets as well. It's not one of like the full size.
My sister
It's
has
just
one
one of
of the
the
small ones. But I find that also kind of funny because you were the one who sent me the link for the drawing tablet I have now. So I'm like, oh, this is probably the one he has. And then
no,
I was
no.
genuinely
I sent you.
shocked whenever you're like, you have a display screen. I'm like, yeah, don't you?
Mm,
Isn't this the one you have?
no, 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 no. I sent you the one I wanted to get because like that's the quality I was
Oh,
looking for.
okay. Because I'm sitting here like, wait, don't you have this one? Why are you so surprised it has a display screen?
Yeah.
I mean, I am getting the hang of it a little bit more, and I am grateful that it does have a display screen because I'm just like, I don't think I can do this without the display screen.
Oh yeah. That's how I feel sometimes. I mean, you get better.
No, it's a
It's
matter about
painful.
practice, and I'm not gonna lie, it took me a hot minute to remember that it's a lot like drawing traditionally, cause I kind of forgot that for a short time, and I'm just like, why is this so hard? And then I had to have
Oh
someone
yeah.
remind me, it's like, hey, this is just like drawing with a pencil on some paper, right? And like, oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. I'm almost at the point now where it's like I don't see the point in investing in like the flame lender. I mean, if you think about it, for the same price, you could just buy a tablet, like a stylus tablet, the
Pretty
exact same thing.
much. I mean, I'm kind of at that point where I'm probably should start adjusting to drawing just on the tablet itself and kind of like cut out what is it like pencil and sketch pads and all that fun stuff because like
There's
one it's good, it's better for the environment just to cut back a little bit on that kind of stuff.
yeah. I mean, Here's a little fun fact for you. I've actually got an artist that I follow, and like a professional artist. He used to work with Funimation, and he actually does like all of his art. What he'll do is he'll do the sketch on pencil. He'll clean the lines and stuff digitally, and then he'll ink it with color.
Huh.
So it's like a dual thing, sort of.
Sort of. See,
It's a very similar sort of method.
yeah, well, I mean, the way I do it now is where I'll obviously like I'll draw it traditionally, and then I'll take a picture because I don't need to bother with scanning it. It's gonna be well, technically traced over digitally, and just do it that way. I think I don't know. I guess I just have problems with comparing my stuff with other people's. I mean, I still had this
Every artist
problem.
does it.
I still had this problem even when I did more traditional art when I was a little bit younger. Obviously, well, when you're younger, it's different. You're going to compare yourself to others, even though you really shouldn't be doing that because everyone has their own style and
Yeah.
experience and things like that. But you're still gonna do it regardless. Um,
Yeah.
but like, no, I always like, oh, my art's as good as theirs. I don't have the same technique and things like that. And even going into digital art, it's a little daunting.
Oh yeah.
It's very daunting because I'm sitting here like my lines aren't straight. It generally looks like I'm just drawing here. There's so many errors. Like the lines are not. There's got these little like not curves, but like you know when like your hands kind of shaking a little bit when you try drawing a line, you get that shakiness of the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's like a few of my lines come up that way. So I'm gonna say this right now in the piece I hope to send you. I'm having difficulty doing so. We're gonna address that later. Um, there's a few parts in the lines I try to clean up where it's a
Hmm.
little shaky, but if you need to clean up, just go ahead and do it. The layers are
Yeah.
mostly separate, mostly I say, but
Hmm.
no, yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely have an issue with that. And then
You know, it's funny. I was actually told, like, not like directly told, but I've heard a lot of digital artists say it's best to not try to get your lines to look perfect. A lot of people really like
focus.
it looks like a lot of people like really focus on like that hyper perfection that'll it's hard to obtain, right? And then like when you do make a small mistake, it's super noticeable. If you let your lines and stuff be like a little bit looser when you're going through, you might have to redo the lines a few times, but it looks so much better. Because there's just like, you've got like the deviations and pressure and stuff,
Yes,
and like the little shakes and like imperfections here and there. And it just looks so much more
real.
like an actual person drew it than just.
See, like that's kind of my thing. So like, okay, so when it comes to drawing, I do like having that human element to it. That's kind of like also another reason why it took me so long to get to digital art was because it didn't feel like it had that human touch to it. Like it was very perfect. It was almost like some of them could be like photorealistic in some cases. I mean, just look
Mhm.
at what Pixar can do with their computer like animation essentially. So on one hand, it's daunting to see like the big like skill gap when you start out versus all these people and like all the shit they can do, and it's like, oh my gosh, how do you do that?
Yeah.
But no, like the biggest thing for me when I was starting out with like trying to transition from traditional to digital, because let's face it, that's the future. It's gonna be digital art. Traditional art is indeed going out, but it'll never be truly gone. But it is definitely going out of style, more or less. I mean, there's still
Yeah.
some of those that can really pull it off well, but it just I don't know. In times, it also does feel like you're losing that human element with the absolute like the hyper perfectionism, like you mentioned, with
Yeah.
everything just
Yeah.
being absolutely perfect. I'm just like, I
Well, and
can't
then
do
you've
that.
got apps like say Art Breeder or Dolly Mini where like you got AI generated art. It's really like it's got a very sort of like there's a certain style to it, but like when you type in the keywords or whatever, the AI can generate pretty much exactly what you want it to generate,
That's terrifying.
which is yeah, it is.
But yeah, like it doesn't really have the human element to it. The
Yeah.
human error, I guess, is the best way to say it. But like, even then, like when you see what other people can do with their drawings, and like I don't know how much is actually like drawing on like like how I would, where it's just drawing the stylus to the tablet itself, like I would be drawing on a sketch pad. Um, because I see some of these speed paints, and it almost looks like they're using like almost like kind of like line tools almost to get
Mhm.
these like perfect like lines. I'm like, there's no way you're actually drawing this. You've got to be using some sort of tool.
I mean, I know Paint Tool Sai has a line stabilizer tool,
Mm,
anywhere from like 0 to 15 for classic, and you got like the super stabilizer, which is 1 through 7. And it's like there's a delay in it, but you get such a smooth, perfect line, and it's just I don't like it.
you don't like it.
Like at max, if I'm doing line art, I will bring my stabilizer up to a 7, and that's
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't think Krita has really those kind of features. I know it has like the line feature itself where you can create like a straight line,
yeah,
which
yeah. That's always nice to have.
I mean that is
Sai doesn't have.
nice. That is definitely that. Like if you're doing something where it requires like a straight line, like if you're like put it in the horizon line or something like that, I can understand using the line tool for that. Cause like it's a little, I don't know, it's easier on paper to create that straight line for the horizon line, but it just comes off a little like wonky trying to do it like by hand on
Uh,
a tablet.
oh yeah, I'm at the point where I'm basically just scanning lined paper.
Oh
Whenever
really?
I do sketches that I digitize, I'll do my sketch on lined paper and then scan it. And then I have straight line.
See, I guess I'm just so used to like not really doing because I've just got back into the backgrounds. I used to do them obviously a lot when I was a comic book art, like a fan comic artist. I guess you may. I don't really say a comic artist, but an
Yeah.
aspiring one when I was younger. Um, because it slowly grew from like it would just be the characters on basically empty backgrounds to
Yeah.
slowly adding in the backgrounds as I went, and they got a little more elaborate as I got a little bit further on in my drawings of these comics until like everything
Mhm.
was completely crushed underneath me. Thank you
Yeah.
again for that. But I'm trying to get back into it. I did dive a little bit into it when I was doing like gemstonas and all that kind of stuff because I do have some old pieces where it's got some semblance of a background, but it's not actually a background. Like
Hmm.
there's one the focus is obviously the character and the horse that they're riding on, but you've got this I think it was like a Himalayan ice quartz gem zona and this like ice themed armor where it's got the aurora colors to it. So it's not ice cold, but it's got some color to it.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of like raising her sword arm in battle, and you have this horse that admittedly I did have to use references for because I made it like a realistic horse. Where they're basically riding off into battle, and the background is kind of blurred and not really brought into focus because I didn't actually outline it because at that time I was outlining my drawings in ink and then coloring it in with pencils. So I would usually do that for like the backgrounds where I wouldn't really outline it, and I would just do like colors and try to do some shading. Uh, I guess to make it a little more out of focus, kind of like, or there's not a lot of focus on the background, basically. The only
Yeah.
other time I really remember doing quite a bit of detail on a background was for like this really big piece where I think it was like an astrophyllite gem. It was like a black gem. Uh, it's part of like an old friend's because we created our own like little AU with our own gemstonas essentially. We kind of partnered up on that. And this gem I created was part of his diamonds army essentially. And how like she was basically brokenhearted and down, and she's basically collapsed on this battlefield that's on fire around her and everything's just burning away. So you have like the black sky with all the dark clouds, you have the fire around her, broken weapons, and everything just scattered around. Like it's basically a battlefield that was burning away. It's like the two times I can remember being very ambitious with my backgrounds
Yeah.
outside of high school. And then after that, I just kind of stopped doing backgrounds again because I got lazy. Keep in mind, if you don't really go for being an artist as your career, you tend to get a little lazy when it comes into like the hobbyist kind of uh, plane. Because I can definitely say
Yeah.
I've fallen back into hobbyist versus aspiring professional. Because I'm just like, I don't care anymore. Like, I'll be here if you need help with something, but I can't do it as a job anymore.
Yeah.
But it's just perfect fun because, like, I like being here to, like, offer experience and advice. So I can say, just, like, draw and have fun with it and just see where you go from there. Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I personally don't really care for doing all the super detailed and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's nice and you can get some attention from like all the details and all the pretty shading and colors and everything. But I'm just like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do it. I can't, I'm still learning how to blend and do like shading that way digitally. I still can't even do that.
Big. That's a big mood.
Yeah. I,
That's why I just use my cloud brush, is it like automatically creates different levels of depth. I start with a dark color in the cup.
It's definitely the reverse of what you do. Because I was, at least for traditional art, I was always told that when you go to color, you always start with the lighter color and then you go darker.
With the cloud brush, I don't know. It's like the opposite, but it still works.
As long as it works, right? Also, I kind of want your opinions on this from because like I know you've seen some of my digital pieces, and I want to know like, do you think that the colors are a little too saturated or too like something? Because I don't know, it feels like when I do flat color, it doesn't quite look like other people's flat colors, and I'm like, what? Why is this? I use the same colors, but it just looks a little different, and I can't quite place it.
I mean, sometimes it does come off as like a little bit overly saturated. And even I have a hard time with colors sometimes, so what I like to do, there's like a lot of really good color palettes online, like free color palettes and stuff you can use.
Well, that's the thing. I do like so I will do that kind of stuff where I will look up the palettes, usually on Google Images, mind you. Probably not the best source, but it's a source where I'll download like it's mostly skin tone palettes are the things I have the most issue with.
Oh,
Um so I'll download that. So a lot of the skin tones I use are from palettes itself. But when it comes to a lot of the like hair colors and things like that, it's stuff I kind of like mess around with. So I know sparrows. It's just using them because like they're the two I've probably colored the most. Hers is probably a little more saturated, but Arthur's I actually got from one of those palettes too. So I'm like, I don't
yeah.
know. Maybe it's also just the art program I use too, because yeah.
Krita is it's a weird software to use. Fair.
Well, okay, look, it's free, so I look at it like that. It's like, hey, it's free, and I'm a hobbyist, so that's all that really matters to me because I'm not really going to take the time to pay for programs. And I mean, if you're more serious about it, I can understand why you would do that because obviously you want better programs to create better art, and things like that.
um, Piracy go burr.
Oh my gosh, we don't encourage piracy on this channel. Don't listen to
Uh,
him.
yeah, I don't encourage it, but like,
We don't encourage it.
well,
we
okay, I don't encourage it necessarily, but I will say like, if worse comes to worse, like, worst comes to worst, and you really need a software, go for it. Make sure it's a safe website, and then when you have the money, pay for the software later.
But also make sure it's compatible with your tablet or whichever one you're using.
Yes, yes. That's the entire reason why I had to stop using Psy was because it stopped working with my tablet. Now I have
Oh,
this one.
that's one of the big reasons why I use Krita because I know it's compatible with my tablet. I could technically use Photoshop too, but I have to pay for Photoshop, and I don't want to do that.
Shop is expensive.
It is. It's only because it's Adobe. And like
So
for
I'm
those
like,
that have no problem with Photoshop, good on you. But like, I can't. Too much money.
yeah. I feel so bad for like the students who are forced to pay for art school.
No, I know all too well. I had to for my bachelor's. We had to use Adobe Illustrator and Oh, there's another Adobe one we had to use. It was where we had to create like infographics kind of thing, where it's like the big like almost like poster kind of thing, and you just had like text and images, and it's very information based, pretty much. I don't remember what the program's called, but I don't remember how to use it. Well, actually, I kind of remember, but it gave me the biggest headache using, and I hated it so much. I hated that class. Completely pointless. Like I don't get that people making you use these programs in these classes, then you never use the programs again just because like it's too expensive or like it doesn't match what you need. But yeah,
I hate drawing hands.
hmm,
God, I hate drawing hands.
that's another thing. Always draw your hands and your feet. They're like the one of the most annoying parts of the human body to draw. but they aren't too bad. I actually don't mind drawing hands too much. I have to draw it out like you know how you'd see on like a lot of like reference step by step kind of uh infographics where it's like draw like the box and then draw like the little sticks coming out from the box for the hand. I have to draw my hands that way.
That's a super valid way of like drawing hands. My last art class I ever had was with a teacher who went to art school, like specifically to become an art teacher. And the three like big things for drawing hands is like look at like the charts and stuff that they use medically to show muscles and stuff, and draw based off of the muscles and how they move. Draw from life, or use the shape references. Like those are the three big tips for hands.
I like that. Well, that or you can also just use um draw from reference kind of thing, like draw from real life, or you could always get like. Did you ever use those posable mannequins?
I have one and it sucks and I hate it and I wish I
Really?
hadn't bought it even though it was like $10. I'm mad.
Really? I mean, I liked it better when I was in high school when I actually needed it, but that was also when we had like the good ones.
Oh yeah, buying them now is a waste of time unless you're gonna shell out a crap ton of money. Like, they're super cheap now. Do not buy them like Walmart. They are
Oh yeah,
bad.
no, don't buy them. Don't even like.
I got mine from an art supply store and it was still really bad.
Yeah, no, I got mine from our art supply store, but it's a crappy art supply store anyway. Don't buy from Hobby Lobby. Go fuck them. Uh,
I thought we weren't attacking people this episode, but then we can attack.
well, okay, they're not a people; they're a corporation. It's different.
Yeah.
And plus, like, Hobby Lobby is too expensive for an art supply store, in my opinion. And not to mention they're like very anti-LGBT. So, yeah, no, fuck them. No one really likes Hobby Lobby. Any real artist that does it for like won't actually want to shop from Hobby Lobby because I've heard a lot of artists say it's too expensive, and I'm like, yeah, it is. I'd rather just buy what I need off of Amazon.
Honestly, at that point, I'd rather go to the dollar store. I know people hate on dollar store art supplies, but some of my favorite markers that I had in middle school were dollar store markers.
Mhm.
Like I bought like 3 or 4 sets of those things, and I wore them all right out. That's how good they were, even though they were like dollar store. It just goes to show that you don't need like super expensive supplies to make good quality
Not
art.
at all, because I mean, when I was getting into coloring, because that was a step and a half. I think I got into coloring more in high school because I definitely know in middle school I was doing more. I was just kind of like getting into the outlining aspect and things like that, where I was outlining with ballpoint pens instead of like actual artist markers. That didn't come until like probably freshman year of high school, and I started actually using the like inking markers that you're supposed to be using. Um,
I used to use Sharpie.
I never used Sharpie. I couldn't. Sharpie was too strong of a scent for me. Plus, you always had the kids at school try to take your Sharpies and sniff them to imitate getting high off of them. So,
Oh, I never had to deal with that.
oh no, I had to deal with that because like they'd be like, "Hey, you have a Sharpie? Can I see that?" And then they just sniff it. I'm like, "You're weird."
Yeah, I never had to deal with that. Um, I don't know. Maybe me using a Sharpie is the reason why I'm so like completely desensitized to alcohol markers.
Probably. But no, yeah. When I got into coloring, I actually used Crayola and it was a rose art. I think rose art. There's I know it's Crayola. I think it was Rose Art. I think that was a brand of colored pencils I used. I think there was something else I used, but I can't remember what. Oh, Crazy Art. Crazy Art was the other brand I used. Um,
Oh,
I used all three of those for my coloring. And I mean, those were cheap pencils too. So
Yeah. I'm fine with the other ones. It's just crazy art.
okay, so like I didn't use them a lot. I'd probably say the Rose Art and the Crayola were the ones I used the most because Crayola had the very like saturated colors, like those
Yeah.
like deep, rich colors that you kind of need sometimes. Um, but then like Rose Art had the very muted kind of colors that you needed more of the time. Whereas like
One brand,
oh, go ahead.
one brand that I miss that was like discontinued when I was just little is Laurentian. My grandma had like a bunch of Laurentian pencil crayons at her house for the longest time. And I don't know if it was like just a Canadian only brand, but those things lasted forever and the colors.
Maybe I know personally I've never heard of them, but it could also just be like the area I live in doesn't really have them. So hard to say. But
Hold on, I'll send a picture. I'll
oh,
send a picture of them.
all right. I will wait to see the picture. I've actually got Discord up because I'm sassing Raptor right now.
I saw that.
I mean, he's the one who's saying we're not recording when we said we would, so
Yeah.
I don't want to hear anything from him.
God, these were from the 90s?
They're from the 90s.
Oh my god, they're that old. Oh.
That are they like discontinued now or something?
Okay, yeah, they were Canadian.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, yeah, they're Canadian.
All right, I got you. I got you.
But yeah, I'll send it the podcast host. Here. Here. These.
Oh, those definitely look old. Those definitely look old.
You can still find unused sets on eBay.
I bet you can. You can find almost
But like
anything on
for
eBay.
they're like Crayola level like prices. It's like really cheap, but the white pencil crayon actually worked.
Hmm. Okay.
They were like baby's first Prismacolors.
Oh, that was another brand I used, but very rarely. Cause
I don't think I've shown you my Prismacolor collection, but I have a problem.
no, I feel you. I mean, I think as of the start of either it was this year or the end of last year, I ended up giving my sister my entire colored pencil collection, which was roughly about like 500 pencils.
I've been purging mine for the last 3 years, and I still have a little plastic tub that's like. Let me do the conversion.
Why you do that? So,
It's measured as a 9-liter container, which is about a little bit under 2.5 gallons,
oh wow,
liquid wise. So yeah, it's a lot.
that's
I'm not gonna
definitely a
provide
lot.
the others. It's mostly markers now, but there's like 30. It's like a third pencil.
So I kind of want to ask, because I'm a little curious, what would you say is probably your proudest drawing or anything like art piece that you've made?
Um, the art piece that I'm the most proud of probably has to be part of my grade 12 final art project. We had to talk about, like, we had to do a lot of our stuff because our art teacher for that year was friggin' insane. A majority of our art had to relate back to how COVID affected us.
What?
Yeah, and so
That's uh
I did this sketch
okay.
that basically, like, it was basically like a lot of the stuff that was like talked about on the news and a lot of the stuff that was just causing me like stress and how I was coping with it.
Okay.
And what I did, you know my little gremlin that I draw myself as most of the time.
Yes.
It's less gremlin like counterpart when I was actually doing like nice anatomy art instead of like the cartoony proportions. Um, I drew my little persona sleeping easily, sort of in this little bubble that was made up of like these different things that really just like helped me cope with going through a lot of like stuff for COVID. It was all like these French words stuff. And I was super, super proud of it. Like it was my favorite drawing I have done so far. And you know what?
What?
I got a 60 on my final project.
What does that mean? Was it
Like I
good,
put so much.
bad?
I'm mad about it because like I put so much effort.
Well, I mean, in
I
terms
put
of
so
your
much.
grading system, what would it be? Because a 60 to me is a D, and a D is a borderline failing grade.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
that's
that's
what it
not good.
was.
Yeah, any lower and I would have failed
Oh wow,
that
really?
final assignment. Yeah. My art teacher though, she hated me.
Oh
Like
wow.
she genuinely hated my guts. I had her as a teacher for literally the last 3 years of high school
Ooh.
for most of my classes because we had to take half of our credits in French, right?
Okay.
And because of the fact that we didn't really get art classes and stuff until like way later, and some of our art classes weren't even art classes; they were drama classes
Mhm.
in French. I did a lot of sketching and stuff like in and out of class just because it would help
Mm.
me like
So,
focus and stuff.
when it actually comes
She,
time to art, she's gonna fail you for it, basically.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Wow.
she did the exact same thing with my final project, my grade 10 year. I did. We had to like we had I think it was like a list of 20 different art projects and stuff we could choose. And I chose we had to choose like this magazine spread, and what we did was we'd paste a piece of blank paper over it and then tear away whatever didn't stick with the glue to create sort of this opening, and then we had to draw off of that. And I got failed on my final project because it wasn't
Really?
original enough, even though I was using my own original characters.
That's
Yeah. It wasn't the first time that happened either. My grade 8 year art class, I spent, I think it was like just about 2 weeks on this really nice sketch of a rose, like very realistic rose. Some
okay.
asshole in my class spent maybe 2 minutes on these like ceramic coffee mugs, like 2 minutes. They were really bad. The kid got a higher mark than I did.
Man, I know that feeling all too well.
But when it comes to stuff that I actually did really well on, we had to do this project where we made posters out of like construction paper and stuff, and none of the things could have drawn lines. Everything that we did, any lines we had to make, were made out of construction paper. And I did a self portrait, and I got one of the highest marks in the class on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to send a picture of it later,
Any
preferably
others?
after I take it off my wall.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, no, maybe
probably
so.
probably looking back at some of my stuff from when I was in like grade 4 or 5, around there. Maybe grade 6. It was around when the first Five Nights at Freddy's game came out.
Oh dear lord.
Like looking, it's bear with me here, bear with me here. It was like I turned one of my little cat creatures into an animatronic,
Okay.
and it ended up being really good. Like even proportion wise and stuff, other than the head being like chibi size, which I kind of hate. But I'm like, it's good art. It's really good.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like amazing, but it's for a kid that age, it was good.
No, yeah, I get you. You want to hear some of mine?
Yes, sure.
All right, so I can definitely say two of these come from high school. Um, so in our high school, uh, it was mostly like in the art hallways. There were ceiling tiles that were painted by other students that they hang up, and we in the advanced art class, which was literally just like four of us sitting in the in between rooms between two of the art classes, we were given an option of what we wanted to do as like our big project essentially. And I chose to make a ceiling tile. And I think this is also right around the time when I was obsessed with Final Fantasy 13 as well. And I think it was right around the time of 13 2. And I think also Lightning Returns as well. But regardless, I chose to paint Padre Yule onto a ceiling tile. It took me most of the semester to actually get it done,
Hmm?
and just like a whole bunch of and like instructing from the teacher, like do better with this shading or do this to capture fur texture, or like the proportions aren't quite right, you need to slim it down and things like that basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did get it done. I basically passed because like I said, with the teacher, as long as you did the art that was requested and she saw that you put in the effort and the time, she basically would pass you. So she basically just
Mm-hmm.
gave you an A, 100%. And I told my English teacher at the time, 'cause it definitely was senior year, and I gave it to him so he could put it up in his class. I don't know if the English teacher's still there, but he was actually a really cool guy. He was like the one English teacher everyone in grade 12 wanted. And I got him as my English teacher, so I'm like, oh, fuck yeah.
Oh my god, I ended up with same thing happening my grade 12. We had two different English classes, but because I was in French, I only had to take one, and I ended up taking English A, which was like mostly focused around storytelling and poetry. And
See, that's what our just general English class for grade 12 was storytelling and poetry.
yeah, we had English A and then English B. English B was based mostly around like historical literature, novels,
See, that
and
was
essay writing.
grade 11 for us, was the more historical literature and things like that.
Our grade 11 English was mostly folk stories,
Yeah,
which
no,
was
it's,
pretty
it's
cool.
basically the same, yep.
Yeah. And also like the poetic devices and like literary devices or whatever. It's that.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah.
my favorite to learn in that English class, that teacher though probably had to be we learned how to do like novel reviews and stuff
Alright,
in
let's
an essay
let's
format.
save that for a possible writing to podcast. We're sticking to
It was
drawing here for right
fun.
now.
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
English 12 was I can agree with that. English 12 was definitely fun. But the second drawing, I'm still rather proud of this one. It is a fan art piece. I personally still love it. So it was back when the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comics were having their legal issues and things like that. So they were kind of like in the middle of kind of rebooting everything up until like the guy won the case and they had to basically start from fresh, more or less. Um, and it was right around the time when they were doing the whole thing with Sally and how she was roboticized, and then like come the what is it, the world resets. She was basically back to how she was, and there's like a whole new storyline kind of thing. It's like a different world now. Like you get rid of all the old storylines essentially. But I was still kind of clinging to the old storylines that they had to get rid of, and I drew kind of like Sally, like from the side where you could see her like thinking about what happened in the past. Because in the initial world reset, they do eventually remember the previous world before they reset it back to that world. And I did the whole collage thing where it shows her attacking her friends and them being like, "Don't
Oh,
make me hurt you," kind of thing, up until where Silver does deactivate her with his powers, and he's just like, I did it," kind of thing. And then the big text was it all just a dream?" kind of thing, because
oh,
it's that kind of mentality. It's like it happened, but at the same time, like it didn't happen to that Sally. So it's like, was it real or was it a dream, kind of thing? Because like
oh.
it's almost like at the end of Final Fantasy 13, like in the trilogy, how they basically create a whole new world for themselves, but the leading cast remember those past lives more in detail than everyone else does because of how involved they were with the previous world. They go into it a little bit in, like, I think some like offshoot book or manga or something. I don't remember the exact details. I want to say it was a book, um, where there's like a reporter going around to each of the main cast members and asking them about their experiences with the previous world and their memories and things like that. And they do remember it fairly well up until you get to Lightning, where she's just like, no, 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 leave that in the past. It's all done. It's over and move on. But like, it's something they do remember, but it's almost like a dream at that point because like it
Uh,
happened, but it didn't happen, kind of thing.
yeah.
And that's kind of like the concept I went with that fan piece, and I still like it. It's still one of my most ambitious pieces because of just all the detail that was added into it. Because
Oh,
obviously the easiest part was like Sally in her head, like as she's sitting there thinking about it. But then you have all the small pieces where it's like her versus Sonic, Monkey Khan, I think that's how you say it, Silver, Lupe, and you just it was fun drawing. It really was, mostly because I like Sally, so you know. The other one I think is what also kickstarted. This is what kickstarted my DeviantArt Steven Universe thing going on there. But
yeah.
it was something that was so simple in concept, but was apparently popular, and I didn't realize it would be. So bonus points. But it was the one thing I absolutely loved about Steven Universe was the fusion dances and how they would form into this new, bigger gem and everything. I thought that concept was so cool. And around that time when I was really enjoying Scene of Universe, I loved Lapis and I loved Jasper and I loved their whole dynamic is very toxic. And it's just you kind of latch more onto the toxic stuff because it's a lot more fun to watch and see it, you know, fold unfold and everything like that.
I'm glad you explained that because I was ready to be concerned.
Well, no, yeah, I knew it was toxic, but like, I just loved the, like Lapis's response to it. Like I really latched on to Lapis, when I was a little bit younger, just because I could relate to that kind of being abandoned kind of thing, always being left behind and forgotten, and knowing that
Oh,
feeling all too well. And so I latched on to Lapis because I loved her character, and also just that powerlessness. Because I definitely felt that way when I was younger. I felt like I didn't have any power over my own life. I felt like I didn't have a voice, that everyone forgot about me, that I was always ignored. Like, I was very much a shadow, I felt like, and that no one would notice me, or I was easily forgotten, kind of thing. So
oh,
I latched on to Lapis. So in that big moment when she chains down Jasper, her oppressor, and she's just like, now we're gonna be stuck together. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then we learn more about Lapis too, and that just made me more sad and latch onto her even more. But no, yeah, I latched hard onto Lapis. But the piece was so simple. It was just the dance part where Jasper's dipping Lapis, and you see like she's got her hand out and she's doing like the whole like dramatic dip kind of thing during like the entire sequence. Um, and then behind them was the face of Malachite, and it was just the face, nothing else. And I don't remember what the rest of the background. I think it was like just a solid color, but for some reason that was very popular. Like I remember that was like the first thing I posted on DeviantArt, and I'm like, oh, this is cute. I'm sure some people will like this. Next thing I know, it like 300 people have seen it. I'm like, what? It's the small things. So like that kind of
yeah.
became my thing on DeviantArt, was drawing those kind of like fusion dance things until like I tried doing other stuff, but then the other stuff wasn't as popular, so you kind of lose sight of
Okay.
it. Yeah. And the other thing, there's one more. And it's definitely falls into the Steven Universe thing, but it's probably the one thing I take the most pride in because it took me the most amount of time, but I still love it
Val.
regardless. Um, so I really do love creating characters. I love creating designs, backstories, and all that kind of stuff. I like character concepts better than actual like character art. Though I am getting back into character art. I will say that. But there was one character I was designing for me and my friends, kind of like AU Steven Universe, where we had our our gemstones in with the whole thing. Um, and the gem I had created was for one of the diamonds I was responsible for, which was purple diamond.
Ooh.
And this gem was a night blue pearl, her pearl, essentially. Well, one of her pearls, I guess you would say. Not like her main pearl, but one of her pearls. And this one would be a rebel, following in essentially the example of rose quartz, which of course later we learn is pink diamond, but that's besides the point. And I didn't initially design for her to be a pearl right off the bat, though there was some inspirations for it a little bit later on. But it's not necessarily the gem itself, but it was the armor. The armor
Ooh.
took me, I want to say, 2 hours to design for as simple as it was. But then when it came to actually putting the armor onto the character and then coloring it, I want to say with the outlining and the coloring job itself, it took me half a day, 12 hours, to create this piece. And it's still one of my favorites just for the armor design because it's very simple. It's just silver steel armor covering obviously the vital points, and it does cover quite a bit of her compared to like what you would expect for like female armor essentially. And then on the armor pieces are just like black detailing lines that don't really have a rhyme or reason, but just makes it look cooler. And then, of course,
That's fun.
the helm itself is kind of like attached on the sides where it just obscures her face. And her hair is done up almost kind of like, oh, how did I say it? Like, you know how on like, I think Roman hats, how you have like that plume on the top?
Mhm.
It's kind of like that, but like right on the back of her head. Kind of like done up like that.
Cool.
It's definitely one of my favorite pieces still, just for the armor alone, because like that armor took forever to make, and I am proud of it. I am still proud of it. It's still one of my favorites. I've tried to incorporate the armor into other things, but I haven't really been able to do that.
Successfully, at least. Or just like, is it like you've been struggling to find a way to get it right, or is it just like it doesn't feel
Like it doesn't
like
quite like it fits into something else because the way that the armor looks, and I want to see if I can find an image to show you so you can kind of like get an idea of what I mean. And I'll
give
probably
me a minute, I'm being screamed at.
you're good. It gives me time to talk about this. But with the armor piece, one, it took a long time to design. And I want to express this very clearly that, and I learned it the hard way myself. So, um, for any aspiring um, like character designers and things like that. You want to have things have unique designs and everything so they do stand out. But at the same time, you don't want them too over detailed to where you don't want to ever draw them again. I fell into this trap with a few of my things because I thought more detail meant more people would like it and things like that. But it ultimately made things harder for me to draw again, just for the amount of time, detail, and dedication it would take to draw this character on its own. So, on that hand, I never really drew this character again after that, just for the amount of time it took me. It was one of my best pieces. However, it was also something that took the longest amount of time to do, and in hindsight, wasn't the best idea to do. Um, Maybe now I'd have a little bit easier time drawing her again, just because, well, I'd have a little bit easier time to do so because I am getting a little more into digital art, and that as a whole can just be make things a little bit easier, but always not always easy. But you know, but I've never been able to reincorporate her design into anything, just because I don't know. There's just like a certain look to it. I guess is the best way to put it. But I'm going to see if I can find. Ah, there you are. So just to get an idea. And
I'm back.
welcome back. All right, so I sent it
Oh,
into
that's
our
pretty.
little. Yeah, like that design took me the 12 hours to draw, ink, and color. Like you can kind of see why I've had some issue with incorporating it with some other stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah. It has a certain look to it that makes it look really nice,
Yeah.
but at the same time it's like, "Oh, where would I use this?"
Yeah. I think everybody has at least one OC like that.
Yeah.
Or like one design like that. I've definitely got a skeleton design like that. No, I'm not pulling up the art.
Oh,
Mainly because it
you're fine.
requires me to go through my box of drawings.
No, you're fine. I had this one on hand anyway. Actually, I wonder. Actually, I can. So I can actually show you the original piece that got everything kickstarted for my old DeviantArt that I don't use anymore. That thing has long since been terminated, so none of y'all can actually get a hold of it, and you ain't getting a link to my new DeviantArt because I don't even use that.
Mood. Does
Well,
anybody who make a DeviantArt actually use it anymore, really?
okay, so here's the thing. I was actually because I think you might have saw the oh, what is it? The um oh, there's a word for it. The post I made a while ago about um trying to find other art platforms to oh, what was it? To post art onto.
Hmm.
That to be honest, DeviantArt was one of those that was mentioned a lot. And someone actually pointed out a lot better than the others how DeviantArt is only really good for if you're gonna post like not safe for work art or fan art, essentially. Which, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Twitter? Question mark.
Well, I posted on Twitter too, but like, I don't get the same like. I don't know. I okay, so I
It
don't.
depends on the Twitter fandom. It
It
definitely
does.
depends on
Well,
the
here's the
Twitter
thing.
fandom.
It doesn't. How do you appeal to a fandom if like it's your own original work though?
Ah,
Yeah.
um, before Tumblr went to crap and was full of like 12-year-olds and predators. Yeah, that's literally what the app became. Was the app used to be rated as like 17 plus, right? It's like mature
Uh huh.
technically. And then like they got rid of all the NSFW content, but didn't hammer down on like predators and problematic people of like the troubling ideologies that usually lead to a lot of conflict. And they started like pushing it towards children a lot more,
Mm-mm.
trying to be child friendly. But that was because Apple's like, nope, you post you post stuff that kids can't see. Kids use this app, it can't stay.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I just shared the image, the first drawing to my old
Woo.
DeviantArt. But yeah, like you see, like something so simple.
Yes.
But no, yeah, someone had pointed out that like DeviantArt is really only good for fan art and obviously not safe for work art. Which and also in your addition to predators being on Tumblr, there's still predators on DeviantArt too. I've come across a
Yeah.
few of them during my time on DeviantArt. They're always
No,
like,
man.
"Hey, how you doing?" I'm just like, "Can you fuck off and leave me alone? I know what you want, and I don't want no part of it." Kind of thing. I'm just like, ugh. That's why, like, I'd like to find some other platforms to post my artwork on to try and get like a little more people to look at it, if you know what I mean.
If
But like,
if Instagram didn't shaft artists and wasn't full of thought bots, I would recommend
thought
Instagram. But
bots. Well,
what?
here's the thing. I put it on Instagram too, but again, that's where you get me complaining about vultures essentially because of all the fucking bots.
Yeah, and most of them are thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't go away. Like even after you block them, 10 more show up, and I'm like, where are you all coming from, and why are you bothering me?
It's like the today. I'm lucky that I'm so thankful I never got anything like that when I just got added to like the random group chats with people I didn't know and like nobody joined.
Oh my gosh. I get random chat requests and I just don't open them. I'm like, nope, nope, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, Instagram is kind of weird. I especially don't like it because I'm trying to advertise myself as a writer, but like, how do you do that on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's why I've kind of resorted to Facebook again. It's not the best platform. Not
Oh.
everyone uses Facebook, I know, but like at least I don't have to worry about people like trying to like prey on me or something like that, like with Instagram or DeviantArt or like anything else. And Tumblr's too confusing for me to use. Like Dandy's told me so many times where it's like, oh yeah, it's a good place to post your artwork, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's oversaturated with artwork. That's the problem. And it's not like I don't know. It's not like DeviantArt, which I'm gonna use this just because I've used this website where it's meant to be saturated with art because it's a gallery. It's an online gallery. There's supposed to be all that kind of fun little artwork and things like that. But Tumblr, I don't know. Tumblr to me always just seemed like social media. So like it's kind of like an art gallery second kind of thing. I don't know. That could just be me personally, but you know. What are your thoughts on art and social media, Skull?
Um. I use pretty much only Twitter now. I was posting on Newgrounds for a bit.
Newgrounds.
Yeah.
Oh, what
There's a
is
lot of
that?
our new. You don't know Newgrounds?
Nope.
It's like it's a website mostly for like it's mostly saturated with like game developers or like aspiring game developers now, but like it used to be like Flash animations, art, writing, and Flash games. Like pretty much everything by every like their slogan is literally everything by everyone.
Okay.
It was um when it first came out, it was like the haha edgy platform,
Aw.
and I wasn't really getting any like traction or anything. It was just like it's a place to post art, an easy place to post art, but it's a lot of like fan content and NSFW, which is pretty much every like art related platform at this point.
Yeah. I think that's something that kind of always kind of bothered me when it came to drawing, cause I always wanted to draw more of my original kind of content. Um, but again, like you don't really get that kind of attention unless you can really wow people with your like original characters and
Style
things like that.
for your style.
Yeah. And like if your style doesn't stand out, then you don't get the attention, but it's like how do you make yourself stand out when everyone else is trying to do the same thing? Like what do you do that's different? It's a
Sometimes it's just by chance.
Yeah, that's true cuz like I said like with the Twisted Fusion drawing, like that was purely by chance that that got attention like it did. Um But also kind of referring to the meme I showed you, where it's like I draw OCs and you get a little bit of attention, and then you flip it up, it's like I draw your OCs and everyone's like surrounding you. That's what that kind of like also reminds me of. It's like people aren't really interested in your art unless it's their stuff, which to be fair is kind of the human condition because I did learn, and I think this is what makes it easier for me to talk with people than like actually talking with people is that humans are conditioned to want to talk about themselves. So life lessons here. If you ever want to like try and like get through a social interaction, just get people talking about themselves. Even if they don't want to really talk about themselves, they want to talk about themselves. It's not the best advice, but it's helped me a little bit, and it's nice. If you try to make friends, that also helps too. Just trying to show an interest in them. Just make sure you show an interest in them at the same time.
Excuse me, I've got to go chase a 6-year-old who doesn't want to listen back to their room. I'm probably going to get yelled at it for I'm probably gonna get yelled at for it later, but
I
I'll
mean,
be right back.
okay, fair enough. But no, yeah. I can say I've definitely ventured away from the whole being an illustrator. Um, I did want to be one at one point. I was accepted into the Academy of Art of Chicago, the small little one, not the Art Institute. That's like a whole different thing. But I was technically accepted there too as well. But I had wanted to go to the Art Academy because it felt so much more prestigious and things like that. But I couldn't really have that because money and it's expensive. So I kind of settled for like graphic design. Well, multimedia design and development, I guess you could say, which still wasn't a good choice regardless, because then I learned later that it's kind of useless what I learned and wasted money on that. So be careful what programs you get into, especially when it comes to art. Just be careful. And always remember that things are gonna change too. Life advice number two. But I can definitely say throughout the years when it comes to drawing, I've switched from trying to do these really ambitious things to more small scale character kind of stuff. And again, like my stuff doesn't stand out. I'm very mediocre when it comes to my style and everything. It's very anime, cartoony kind of thing, like a lot of people's are. So I don't stand out, unfortunately, amongst the crowd, which is fine. I don't want to stand out for my drawings. That's all behind me. I'm not the person I was in high school with the ambition and the hopes and the dreams. But I've definitely enjoyed this journey. It's been a long one having to go from the traditional route that I had learned pretty much because you start traditionally for the most part. At least I guess the generation I'm part of, which I'm not quite sure what that is exactly. um Millennial maybe, like the very end of the millennials. But um it's definitely daunting getting into digital art, especially when you see other people who've had the technology that they need, the tablets and everything, and the programs. Just having the time to develop their skills a lot more and being exposed to those kind of art a lot more, it does get a little daunting, and you're just like, why does mine not look like that? Oh my gosh. Feelings always there, but no, never compare yourself to others because everyone's gonna have their own little journey, own little thing that they go through, and yeah, I'd say it's definitely a journey being an artist. It's fun though. If you exclude social media and the pressures it can put on being an artist, whether you're drawing or painting, whatever the case may be, it's definitely very fun and relaxing. Art has gotten me through a lot in my life. And even though I've transitioned more into writing, it still has a good impact on me. It's good for relieving stress, for I don't want to say too much with vent art because I might have made some vent art when I was younger, just kind of expressing how I feel through art just does make things a lot easier to cope. That's why, like, I'd say vent art is good, but always remember the context of what your art is and when you go to post it because not other people may see the context. And just be careful, obviously, what you post because you never know how people are going to take it, and people are strange. That's all I gotta say on that part. People are strange, but art is very therapeutic and fun and relaxing, so long as you take away the the pressure.
Stress?
Oh,
Yeah.
hello, you're back.
Yeah, I am.
I'm going on a little tangent about how art can be relaxing, so long as you take away the expectations of being a social media artist that posts like every day. And also how it can be helpful for like mental practices like vent art and things like that. I don't know if you agree
Vent
with
art?
that, but you know.
Um, yeah, I can agree with the vent art thing. I also believe very strongly that your art to project energy.
Yes.
So, like, if you don't want to um, especially when you're like doing something when you're upset, it's even more powerful emotion. And what you really want to do is like make sure you're not. Um, I mean, it's not bad, but like it's always nice to keep it in like a different place from your regular art. You can post it to your social media. Oh, it doesn't power. But when it comes to, all right, that's unplugged. Shit, give me a minute.
Well, here's the thing. If you
My
want,
everything got unplugged.
you're good. But like, here's the thing. If you're making art while you're upset, usually you're like, in my experience, like you want to like be venting it out, you're venting out whatever emotion you're experiencing. So sometimes it can be good to like let that out in art.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I believe very strongly in like keeping a separate sketchbook or whatever,
Oh,
just
I don't.
because
It all
you
goes in
know
one.
energy. The whole energy thing for me is why I keep separate sketchbooks.
I mean, I can agree that you can get a certain vibes off artwork, but I don't think it like transfers over to other pieces personally. But like, I definitely agree that you can get a feeling off of art, like how it's supposed to feel. It's kind of a lot like writing, how you can capture emotion, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I have to ask: is there anything regarding drawing that you want to add in?
Um. Don't be discouraged by art block. A lot of people get discouraged by art block. I'm currently going through an art block. Um. Even if it feels like your art's like just absolute garbage and you can't create anything good, that usually just means you're learning and you're like going through a lot of rapid change in your art. Just keep pushing through. You don't have to draw every day, but at least try draw something,
But do
and
avoid
you will come out
burnout.
of it.
But do avoid burnout
Yeah,
because burnout can easily destroy you. Because like, I easily burn myself out. That's actually honestly why I deleted my old DeviantArt was because I just pushed and pushed and pushed myself to the point of burnout where I couldn't even look at my account anymore. So I deactivated it.
yeah.
No, yeah, that's where I was for the longest time. Was like just artist burnout. I couldn't even look at like a sketch pad and be like, nope, nope, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Oh,
Oh, it's fun. It's like it's not really even artist block at that point. It's just literal burnout. Cause like you'd
yeah,
want to draw, but when you actually look at the sketchbook or tablet or whatever it is you use, you're like, no, no, not at all.
yeah.
I can't do it.
One of one of the artists I follow on Twitter actually just recently came out of a hiatus, and when they went to start posting to their account again, they were like, "Brought up my drawing tablet. It's literally covered in cobwebs. Don't think that's a good sign."
Oh, I mean, so
Which,
be it,
I mean,
right?
yeah. Don't be mad at yourself if your art supplies collect a little bit of dust. Take the time you need.
Definitely take all the time you need.
Yeah. Also, don't feel like you need to buy really expensive art supplies to make good art. There's a lot of artists, even like people who go to art schools, who they'll be made to buy the art supplies that cost them hundreds of dollars and they never use them again after art school. Either because they just don't like the art supply or, because it's just
Well, that's kind of like
high
also what I was
high price
mentioning about
doesn't
too.
high price doesn't always mean good quality.
No, not at all.
Not to mention that there's like a lot of really, especially if you're going in for like oil painting or whatever, a lot of the stuff in oil paints is like super dangerous.
Yeah,
So yeah, exercise proper precaution when working with art supplies. If there's warnings on the labels for certain things, say they need to be used in a ventilated area, use them in a ventilated area. Always follow the recommendations for your supplies, and just be careful. Really. Um, A lot of people think that there's no danger to being an artist, but there's danger.
Oh, there's lots of dangers. I mean, think about like you can mess up your back with how you sit because like some artists like they'll be hunched over for long periods of time over a tablet or whatever the
Are
case
you
may
calling me
be.
out?
Calling
Are you
myself
calling
out
me
too, don't worry.
out?
um Another thing you always need to be careful is always make sure you're doing like wrist exercises because carpal tunnel is a very real thing. And I actually had a carpal tunnel scare a few years ago where I thought I was developing it in actually my left wrist, which I was kind of surprised because my right hand's my dominant. And I was expecting, if anything, it would develop there, but no, it might I thought it was developing in my left arm, but it was probably just soreness from the job I was working. But it was a scare nonetheless.
Yeah.
Like, just make sure you're always taking good care of your wrist, do exercises and things like that. Again, that stuff is very important because carpal tunnel is no joke. Like, ooh, I don't want to go through that. Always exercise. Same with like, and
I
always make sure you're taking breaks too. Like, because the longer you go at something, like sometimes like the crappier it can turn out. Because you're just like, I have to get this done. I have to get this done. But like, no, it's okay. Take a break. Stretch. It's okay.
and another thing, um, I've heard, at least for me, I've heard a lot of people try to put a gender label on like whether art is for men or women or like neither. It's not. It's just art. It doesn't matter how you identify. If you want to be an artist, go for it. I'm tired of people putting gender labels on literally everything.
See, I see a bit of that like with age, quite a bit because you have younger people coming in with like more digital experience and obviously it's becoming more of a digital world so you're going to see a lot more digital art, but then you have some like older artists who are having difficulty kind of adjusting to this, and like you see that kind of like back and forth a little bit too where it's like you're too old or you're too young kind of thing. It's like, but art's art, why does it matter?
I mean, when it comes to certain topics, you're definitely there are definitely times where I'd say, yeah, maybe you're a little bit too young to be drawing this, but
Okay, well that's different, but I mean like as a whole for art.
yeah.
But
People seem to forget art is subjective.
art is very subjective.
Line art sucks.
Line art?
Yes.
How so?
I'm just suffering through the entire artistic process.
Oh gosh.
Gotta get back into practice. People are gonna start asking for digital commission.
Oh yes, they are going to be asking. I've already asked you for one.
Yes, you're the first person I've given that option to.
I'm glad because I probably would have gone elsewhere because I needed it to be digital.
But I mean, even if it ended up being traditional, my scans usually come out really clean.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But it's
And I've
also
had
more practice
people,
for you, right?
yeah, I've had people like straight up, um, if you take your time, especially if you're like a traditional artist, depending on what supplies you use, and I'm not saying like go for expensive supplies, but if
Well,
you
yeah,
have
because the price tag doesn't
like
always guarantee good art.
yeah, it's just like I'm working a lot with alcohol markers now, traditionally, and like Prismacolor pencils, and a lot of the time when I do traditional pieces, I have people asking me if it's something I did digitally and printed. Because of how flat
Okay.
the colors are coming out. It's just I've had people ask me before. It's just art that I do on paper. It's not printed. Also, uh, for people who say there's no money in art, screw them. It might take a bit, but it might take a bit to find the right people. But there's always a market for art.
There definitely is. Oh, there's always going to be a market for art.
Into his ear.
But you got anything you wanna add to this? Anything else?
No, not really.
Yeah, I think I've reached my talking points at this point. But if that's the case, well then this has been another fun discussion for our 8th episode. It has been fun, and I wish you guys all a good morning, night, evening, wherever the case may be. You guys have a good day.